So, my friends, welcome to a new crypto update video. Bitcoin at 109,000 US dollars. We didn't get the weekly close I was hoping for. We also didn't get the daily close I wanted. Of course, when it's Sunday, we don't get the weekly or daily close either. We'll definitely take a closer look at that in just a moment. Still, Bitcoin at 109,000 US dollars. Over the weekend, as I said, we had this slight sell-off, but now we've gone back up towards the 109,000 mark. Last night, there was even a little pump up to 109,100 US dollars. But that was it, and we got sold off again and closed below the golden pocket. Let's take a calm look at all of this now. Of course, we'll also take a look at the altcoins. We'll also be taking a look at the traditional markets, which, of course, are opening up again today. Let's see what other effects the weekend might still have. But before we get started, go ahead and give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, feel free to join the free Telegram Talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You'll find the link for that for free down in the video description. And if you're still looking for an exchange where you can trade everything we talk about here, feel free to sign up with my partner exchange, BingX. At the moment, you can grab up to 11,500 USDT in bonuses. And also, as I said, you can trade everything there that we discuss here. So, yeah, Bitcoin at 109,100 US dollars. As I said, we're looking at the 4-hour time frame here. We didn't make it past the golden pocket. Last night, as I said, we came back into the area of 109,100 US dollars, closed below or within the golden pocket, and now with the next 4-hour candle that we're seeing right now, the sell-off has started again. So, not really a positive sign. Then, as I told you, the weekly close also wasn't particularly good. So it did have one thing going for it, namely, it was the highest weekly close of all time. That's something you have to give Bitcoin credit for. But still, I would have liked, or as we've said several times in the live stream, a close up here somewhere in the region of 109,800 or even better, up here at 110,000 US dollars. That would have been ideal, because then we would have finally broken through this former all-time high you see up here, at just under 110,000 US dollars, to the upside with a weekly close. So far, on the weekly chart, we've only ever had one wick, 2, 3, 4, and now possibly this week number 5, where we've repeatedly had wicks above this all-time high, but we've never really managed to break through it sustainably to the upside. And that's the point that still really bothers me at the moment. You can also see it on the daily chart. We still haven't gotten a higher high. We still have the higher high over here at 110,200 US dollars. That's how we could have completely wrapped it up on the weekly and, of course, also on the daily chart. But as you can see for yourself, so far it's only ever been the liquidity that's been taken, and those are exactly the negative points we need to pay attention to here. As I said, on the 4-hour time frame, we rejected the golden pocket. We had two alternatives here. If we managed to get through the golden pocket and also stay above it on the 4-hour, maybe even on the daily, then there was a chance for an all-time high. But for now, the risk has increased again that we might see another sell-off here towards, let's say, 103 down to 102,000 US dollars. The chances are still there, since we were just rejected at the golden pocket. The only positive thing that still needs to be mentioned here is that after we broke through the 110,500 US dollars last week, the price dropped into our big target zone. Anyone who went long there, if you can still remember, that was, yes, the former 0.5 to golden pocket area. You can still see it here as well. Anyone who went long there could definitely have taken profits by now, or rather, should take some profits at this point. After that, there was a counter move, and now we're back in the golden pocket, so take profit 1 or take profit 2. You can definitely take those, and maybe even open a small hedge short, but only if you went long bound there. Otherwise, as I said, those are the two alternatives. If we take a quick look at the funding rates, they're a bit higher at the moment. But we're still absolutely within a normal range. However, if we compare this to the past few weeks, we definitely see more white, and sometimes even red. But the funding rates are still totally reasonable. The open interest, on the other hand, is giving me a bit more to think about right now. And, if we look at the heat map, here we see at 109,750. So, recently, a lot more has been cleared out to the upside, and to the downside, the 107,000 US dollars over a 3-day view. Let's take a look at the whole thing from a weekly perspective. How does it look there? There we now see a clear cluster up here at 111,000 US dollars. And that's exactly the area where, from a weekly perspective, we've also seen these top regions up here. If we close above that, that applies again for this week. If we close above it, that's absolutely bullish. But if we just get a new all-time high with a liquidity swap, that is, just a new all-time high, and then even close below last week, that's absolutely bearish. Just to, let's say, grab the liquidity up here and then, well, let's say, go into a bigger correction downwards. That's the risk you should simply prepare for, or rather, what we should be watching out for. Other than that, nothing else has really happened. Let's see what Trump does today. The tariffs have been postponed again, and Elon Musk has founded his own party. Let's see what kind of impact that will have on the market. Yeah, the altcoins are still pretty much dead. So nothing is happening there at all. You can see here, the range, it's still the same old range with Ethereum. There was really no real movement here over the weekend either. Just for the sake of completeness, the daily close, nothing earth-shattering there either. And a quick look at the weekly close as well. Also nothing really earth-shattering. You keep seeing these long tails upwards here, or rather, wicks. It's really not much of neither here nor there. At this point, you have to say, we still have the resistance area up here. Other than that, there's very little happening here. Solana as well, yeah, pretty much the same story. Let's zoom in a bit here too. It's an absolute sideways phase, no real momentum here. We talked about it last week. As long as this line holds, the yellow support line, everything is still okay. That's how it looks, at least for now. We'll move our long zone down a bit further here, just in case we get a fake out, because the chance for that down here still exists, of course. But it's just a huge cluster of over 5%, so you really have to ask yourself if it's even worth it to go long down here. It might be better to focus on Bitcoin and potentially trigger a long position there instead. Alright, then let's move on to gold. Traditional markets, yeah, gold is still a bit weak, but it's more of a sideways phase at the moment. Here too, as long as the line holds, everything is positive. In terms of volume, things are also starting to slow down a bit, so the selling pressure is gradually decreasing here as well. And the euro against the US dollar is also more or less moving sideways. You know, we've been short from around here since about 1.172, but honestly, not much is happening here at the moment either. It's just, and we have to admit this to ourselves, it's simply the summer slump and we need to adjust to that. The DAX tested the golden pocket up here once more, but otherwise there's not much movement. The Nasdaq closed, and yeah, all the US stock markets, I'm actually curious to see what happens this week. We're still waiting for our all-time high on the Dow Jones. If the Dow Jones breaks the all-time high this week, as I said, I expect that we'll do it before correction. I've said that about all the stock markets, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones. I'd like to see an all-time high everywhere and stoke the euphoria, saying, wow, everything is just great worldwide, and then at some point we can make the turnaround. In my opinion, shorting here right now isn't worth it because the upward trend is definitely still intact. From a weekly perspective, we've also hit a new all-time high. On the 4-hour chart, we're clearly showing weakness here, but even so, after breaking through this trend line, things could still move significantly higher. I have a price range in mind, maybe, let's just quickly set that. I'm looking at around 6,700 to even 7,000 points, but honestly, that's already quite a lot in my opinion. So I'd rather go with the lower end, 6.6 to 6.7. That would be my current maximum top for the S&P 500. Let's see what happens. Otherwise, that's it for me. It's relatively quiet, so, we don't need to do any other videos at the moment, except for the morning update video, which should have a bit more volatility. Yes, let's see. Otherwise, if you have any altcoin requests, feel free to write them in the comments below. Then we'll take a look at a few altcoins again, but at the moment, they're just mostly dead. That's the problem with the market right now. The altcoins are just dead. Otherwise, I'd say, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, join the Telegram group, and we'll catch up again, at the latest tomorrow. Until then, ciao ciao, and as always, stay crypto.